Hello guys and welcome back to the Apprentice, and welcome back to the Apprentice, and today we are going to be talking about the teleshopping episode. This was potentially the most entertaining episode of the whole series. It was funny and some people were so good at this challenge and some people were absolutely horrific and it was kind of embarrassing to watch. Yeah, it was a tough one. There was a double firing at the end of this episode, which kind of took me off guard. But then again, there is only like 12 episodes this series, and there were 9 people going into this episode, which means there's going to be a couple of double firings coming up. Otherwise, we're not going to make final 2 in the last episode. So yeah, on the whole, really, really good episode. Really, really exciting. But before we get into the episode, I just want to say thank you guys very, very much for the support on the channel. You guys are doing absolutely fantastic. I know I do the same spiel every single video, but it is working. We are growing to 900, a little bit slowly, but we made 800 in record time. So keep on going, keep on pushing. If you're liking what you're seeing, make sure to keep on subscribing. And yeah, hope you enjoy the video. I'll see you in there. So as I said, this is a teleshopping episode. They basically had to produce and direct and star in a teleshopping hour on like a channel like QVC or something like that. Teleshopping is something that I've never really understood. It's never been something that I've wanted to buy products off of. But some people they seem to love watching them, and I don't understand it really, because like they usually sell a load of old junk, and that was pretty much confirmed by this episode and the sort of thought behind how they prepare for it, etc, etc, etc. There was a team swap. Phil and Steve have swapped teams, so Phil is now on Team Nexus and Steve is now on Team Supreme. I gotta say, with Phil moving over to Team Nexus, Team Supreme is looking like a very, very good team. Like a very, very good team. So I'm kind of excited to see how they get on. But for the most part, let's get straight in, and I think I'm going to start talking about Supreme. So, Trey is a team leader, the project manager for this task, and I actually thought he did pretty well in that role. He was very much sort of leading the charge, and then Steve was like, yo, we are going to talk about the products, and we're going to decide to do high-end items rather than low-cost items, because if we do low-cost items, we might get a lot of sales, but we're not necessarily going to get enough money, and this is a profit-making task. Whereas, if we decided to go for higher-end items, a couple of the sales could push us over the finish line. It's a very smart and strategic way of thinking about it, and I think that this is actually what ended up clinching them a potential victory, because they decided to go with some rather interesting products. They went with a paddling pool, which was, it looked cool, but it looked cool for like 2-year-olds. Then there was like a lawnmower, like a mini lawnmower, like hedge trimmer, almost like trimming the edges of your grass, that kind of thing. They also had like a face thing that's like anti-aging. I don't really know what it did. They put it on and they kind of looked like I'm trying to think of, like, it looked almost like a visor, like, you know, those visors that they used to have during the pandemic, those kind of things. It was just odd, and I didn't really get behind it 100%. But they had a range of decent products. It wasn't absolutely horrendous, but I felt like they could have gotten stuff that was more sort of suited to an audience, because if I was watching those shows, I wouldn't have bought any of those items. But then I don't think I would have bought any of the items on the other team either. So I don't know, maybe it's just me not wanting to buy anything off of QVC because I always think it's a scam. Yeah, which obviously it's not, because it's on TV, so surely it cannot be a scam, but still, I just feel like I'm about to get scammed whenever I look on those channels. So when it came to the actual teleshopping hour, ooh, it was tough to watch at times. You had Trey and Rachel presenting, and then you also had Felicia and Steve in the producer's chair giving them instructions, telling them what to talk about. I gotta say, it's difficult what they made them do. Having never done any sort of QVC style teleshopping before, having someone constantly talking in your ear and you're meant to talk over them and take in the information at the same time, that's difficult, and I don't think I would have done any better with that. So I can't blame Trey and Rachel for really struggling to like process the information they're being told, as well as keeping a constant flow of dialogue going. That is hard, and definitely not to be sort of like, you shouldn't shake your head at that and be like, oh, they did really badly. I don't think you guys would cope very well if you were under that kind of pressure as well. But I thought that the challenge was actually really funny. There was so many moments throughout the challenge that had me absolutely howling. They said Felicia and Steve were doing a fantastic job on the producers. Felicia was sometimes screaming down the microphone and getting a little bit too excited, but on the whole, they did a good job. I thought they left it long enough to drop the prices, things like that. There was one point where Felicia said to Trey something about I can't even remember what she said, but Trey accidentally misinterpreted it as Tracy's on the line, because obviously they have like callers in. He was like, Tracy's on the line, and they were like, who's Tracy? It was genuinely one of the funniest moments of the episode. Really, really had me howling. I actually thought Trey and Rachel did a really, really good job presenting. I thought they had the right energy. I thought they had good banter. I thought there was some great moments, like Rachel pretending to swim in the swimming pool. Absolutely hysterical. And it retained that sort of high energy and high sort of selling power, I thought. I didn't think that they sold a lot, because every time I saw the price, like the sold, it was like sold for. But then I think once you take into account the price that people have paid for this kind of stuff, it would be very different. So yeah, I think that's something that is definitely a factor in winning, is sort of how many you've sold, but not just how many you've sold, but how much it's been sold for, because they were also critiqued for not dropping the price quick enough, which was another problem in itself. But the sales that they did get would probably come in at a higher price, and therefore would probably earn them a little bit more money. On the other team, Raj was the project manager, and she gave them a very, very specific brief that was just like a bit confusing, if anything. Like, she was like, oh, make sure you're selling mainstream stuff that has like a unique ability to it, or something like that. And I was like, well, how can it be mainstream but unique? And that was what a lot of people got confused and was like, what? I don't get it. Huh? She also was also trying to be like, oh, yo, I think that the presenting team should be myself, Maura, and Flo. And Flo was like, you don't want to have one of the guys in the presenting team? And she was like, no. And I was like, And then Flo was like, oh, but like it would help with like diversity, like getting male and female presenters on screen. It just broadens your horizons, kind of thing. And I was like, Flo's got a very, very good point. I was concerned where she was going when she mentioned diversity, but yeah, I can understand the angle that she was going with. Yeah, it was this team was, yeah. So Phil and Paul, was it Phil and Paul? I think it was Phil and Paul. They went to go get their items. They got like an inflatable neck and face massager, and Paul kept on banging on about muscles of mastication. I've never heard of muscles of mastication before, and he must have said it about 5 or 6 times throughout the episode, and every single time they cut to a shot of someone going, what? It really did make me laugh. The other team also went with like the high-end fan. The fan did look cool, I gotta say, but also it doesn't, it's just a fancy fan at the end of the day. It's not anything cool. They also went with a tent, which was a questionable purchase, and then they also had a pen that was like, it could get rid of stains. Like it was a stain remover pen, and I thought that was quite cool. That was probably the most useful item that I saw in today's episode. The The performance. Oh, yeah, rough, rough. Paul absolutely smashed his selling. Absolutely smashed it. I'm shocked they didn't use him more because he managed to sell like 35 items in his first sell, but they were also dropping the price so quickly and so drastically that I think they really fucked themselves over with the amount of sales that they could have made. It was just, yeah, it wasn't great. The 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 producers like Flo and Phil on this one. Phil was kind of a bit, yeah, whatever, whatever. Whereas like Flo was trying to lead it, and Flo was sort of making the decisions to drop the prices, but I think she was making the decisions at the wrong time, which kind of impacted them. Then we had Raj just struggling, bless her, to just string any form of sentence together. It was like, wow, well, wow, wow. And then she started telling a story, and then she got cut off halfway through, and then it was just absolutely horrific to watch. It was really uncomfortable. And then Mora and Raj presented together. Again, it was Struggle Bus City because, oh God, because they were just talking over each other. They weren't listening to the producers. They weren't giving any information on the actual product they were trying to sell. And it was just Struggle Bus City. It was horrendous. It was awful. And it was really, really bad. And then Mora went on to present her own sort of tent pitch. And it was horrific. She was shouting, she was screaming, she had too much energy that it was making me go, oh, I wouldn't want to buy this if I was watching QVC. I know it's a tent, but like it looks a bit shit as well. And then she got in it and she was like, oh, yeah, yeah, it was just bad. And then there was just no information about any of the products coming from Phil and Flo. So it was kind of just like they were left to their own devices because the only thing they were getting through were the price drops. Yeah, this was a tough challenge. Was it entertaining? Absolutely, it was hilarious. It really did make me chuckle multiple times, and I really did appreciate that, I gotta say. So, back in the boardroom, we're going to start off with Team Supreme, and they were questioned about the paddling pool and the decision to bring a paddling pool in. I'm going to back them with a paddling pool. I think that's a safe option to sell at least a few. And like they said, if there's like parents or grandparents out there that want to buy something for their grandchildren or for their children, it's a good purchase because it's like something cool for the summer, which I do think is a good idea. Trey was also called out for being a little bit wooden with the whole strimmer. I don't think Trey liked the strimmer, and so he just didn't do his best when selling it, and it was just a little bit of a but on the whole, Team Supreme, they didn't get a lot of negative feedback. It was kind of just like nitpicky and just sort of like, oh, well, you could have done this better, but you could have done this better, you could have done this better. As for Nexus, there was a discussion about why Paul ended up presenting, considering Raj wanted it to be all girls, and Flo was like, well, most of us sort of backed the whole we want at least one guy presenting, and Lord Sugar was like, that is smart. He then praised, and when I tell you praised, Paul's selling ability and was like, you almost made me want to buy one. And if it wasn't for the fact that the price kept on dropping, and before I'd even picked up the phone to buy one, I'd have bought one. And I was like, okay, that's a good compliment from Lord Sugar, the fact that Paul is so, like, very, very good. And then, obviously, Flo was called out for being in charge of the price drops. Raj was called out for the wow, wow, wow business. Yeah, it was just a bit of a mess from Nexus today, I gotta be honest. And it's surprising because Nexus has not stumbled once in this process. And surprisingly, as soon as Phil comes over, they lose the challenge. So the results are as follows. Nexus managed to shift 53 products for a grand total of £1,124.45. Nothing to shake your head at, I don't think. I think that was quite impressive. However, Team Supreme only sold 21 products, but made a profit of £1,603.79. It's a drastic difference, almost £500, and going for those high-end products and stalling the price drops really helped to rack up the amount of money that they made, just as I predicted earlier. I say I predicted like I didn't already know the outcome of the episode. So this is the first win for Team Supreme, period. They have not won a single challenge, and I'm impressed that they did it as soon as Phil left the team. So when it comes to who is to blame, they should have used Paul more. That was the first thing that Lord Sugar said. He said you should have used Paul more in the advertising. He was your secret weapon. He was good at selling. He was natural. He connected with the audience, etc, etc, etc. Apparently, Mora's performance got complaints on the TV network, which is kind of iconic if you ask me, but like also obviously not good for selling. 9 tasks, 9 failures. That's Paul. No, that's Phil right there. Phil has lost 9 tasks in a row. He has not had a single win yet. This poor man, but also horrific. Raj was then trying to sell the fact that this was her first error in the competition, so she shouldn't be penalised for it. I get where she's coming from, because again, she has been very, very integral in many, many challenges throughout the process. And this was her first stumbling block, and fair enough. But also, should that be taken into consideration? I don't know. Paul was just sent back to the house. Paul was basically told, yeah, you're safe this week. You're fine. Go back to the house. Who should be fired? Mora just went, not me. And I thought, that's iconic. Mora is one of these people that, like, I really find her quite entertaining. She's so all over the place that it just makes me laugh. And Raj and Mora got fired back to back. It was tough. Now, do I think Phil should have been fired for this challenge? Probably not. I don't think he was the biggest problem in this challenge. And Lord Sugar's kind of given him the ultimatum of, you're project manager next week. If you don't win, you're leaving the competition. So, I don't know. This could go one of two ways. I don't know. It's such an odd one. There's no way Phil can win. There's no way he can win. Because even if he does win the next episode and he makes it through interviews, he's only won 1 out of 10 challenges. That's a horrific number. I think that would be a record that no one else has ever been able to match or beat. Because if you failed that many times, you're going home. That's just period. So yeah, Raj and Mora have left. Do I think they were deserving of going for this challenge? Definitely. In the competition overall, not really, but it is what it is. There's not really much I can do. So thank you guys very, very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and do all of that YouTube stuff that you guys are doing so well. Make sure to subscribe like I just said, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Keep on ranting. Bye now.